The purpose of today's video is to give you guys, my subscribers, a garage and a life update. What has been going on with me in the last couple of years, because it's been a couple of years since I've uploaded anything to YouTube. I've really been wanting to get back into regularly uploading here on my YouTube channel, and I've actually gone out and filmed several car review videos and different amounts of content for you guys that I have scheduled now to come down the pipeline. And this video is kind of like an icebreaker, get me back on YouTube, get me back vlogging a little bit again and videoing again. I figure I need to upload something to bridge the gap, and I want to add a new segment to the channel. I want to start doing some automotive related product and accessory review videos. I've done a couple of those and have them scheduled. If you haven't already and you've stumbled across this video, subscribe to this channel here and hit the bell icon, because we've got some cool things in the works. Welcome to my new and very messy garage. If you're an OG subscriber and follower of this channel and my journey, you know that I started this channel way back when I was first out of high school. This channel followed me from Wyoming, where I grew up, all the way over to Rexburg, Idaho, where I went to college. A lot of my content was filmed in Rexburg, Idaho, and produced and put out for you guys. And then my wife and I have been on a journey of Wyoming back to Rexburg. Rexburg, we finished out college. I worked there for a year for Knife River Corporation, or worked civil construction for a year. And then we had an opportunity present itself to where we could go back to Wyoming and partner with my dad in his landscape and dirt work construction business there. We spent the next 4 years self-employed in Wyoming, laying residential fiber optic drops, building fiber optic infrastructure, doing satellite internet work, and doing landscaping and other dirt work related projects. While we enjoyed our time in Wyoming, the housing shortage in the area, along with other business and personal factors, led us to making the decision to move back to Idaho, which is where we are now. Because we have family in the area, my wife and I moved to Blackfoot, Idaho in November of 2023. We finished out that year working in Wyoming, and start April of 2024, I went back to work with Knife River Corporation, once again doing civil construction. If you followed me on Instagram during that time frame, you know that I would upload regularly to my story about what we were doing there. Now we're making another major life change. I'm leaving Knife River, where I'm working 60 plus hours a week minimum, where I will have a more regular 40-hour-a-week schedule, allowing me additional time to make higher quality videos for you guys. More than enough talk about me. So now it's time to give you a garage update, to introduce the new garage to you, because the garage has changed dramatically since the last time I made a video, where we are no longer self-employed and in Wyoming. Our garage size has been cut down significantly. We have a more normal looking garage, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to reach out and do videos on a bunch of different vehicles or automotive related content, just because now the garage size has been shrunk. So I don't know exactly where we left off. Looking back at the channel, I know we talked about my 1995 Toyota Camry that we sold to my wife's uncle. He still has that. I'm still doing a little bit of work on it with him or for him, and he's driving that thing around like crazy. He just put $1,000 into that 95 Camry with a new timing belt, water pump, all the things, along with new tires. Camry is being driven around still successfully a lot. It has like 100 and almost 80,000 miles on it now from when I bought it at 109. The only car that I've ever regretted in my entire life selling has been that 95 Camry, but at least it's still in the family, and I see that it's still being well taken care of and well driven. Our 95 Camry replacement was our 2015 Ford Focus. Honestly, a very similar car, although 30 years newer. It had a 4-cylinder, 2-liter 4-cylinder, and that car was just built to drive and drive and drive. It did have a weird like transmission shudder, and I talked about on the channel how we were planning on keeping that car forever. But then we had a baby, and I did a review video on the Ford Focus and talking about how it really was not a great family vehicle. And we have since passed that Ford Focus on to a new owner. But never fear, because we replaced it with this, the biggest car that Ford makes or made at the time. This is a 2015 Ford Fusion, very similar to the Focus. Still has the terrible power shift transmission. This one doesn't shudder, but it does leap into new gears if it decides to make the gear change, because it usually takes some time to make those as well. But you will notice it is in the exact same color as our Focus, and it has the 2-liter engine. Well, it's a 2-liter EcoBoost, but somewhat comparable to the 2-liter engine that was in the Focus. So this is our main family vehicle and driver right now. So if you're not already, you're going to want to subscribe to the channel, because you don't want to miss out on content on this or any of those review videos that I have coming out. So that was the end of the Ford Focus. We sold it in a winter, and we went and we bought that. One of the other vehicles that you saw regularly on the channel previously, and that I actually might have a few videos that I filmed then and never got edited still coming out on it, is our 2002 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD with the 6.6 liter Duramax diesel engine in it. Didn't have a very successful year business-wise, and we weren't using that truck a whole lot, and we needed some cash. So I went ahead and sold it. It actually went to a previous landlord and neighbor there in Wyoming who bought it and then immediately took the grill guard off to be powder coated, corrected the paint. He had the transmission and the engine separated, transmission pulled, everything resealed. I mean, he did everything on that truck that I could have only dreamed of doing. Now, I owned it. It was in very good condition when I sold it to him, and it looked like a totally different truck. Sold it about a year before we made the move back to Idaho. So it would have been nice to have that truck to move everything over here, because we did keep our cargo trailer, but that truck had to go, and it went just at the perfect time that it needed to, and it couldn't have gone to a better home. Another work truck that you might remember that I used to do videos on was the 2008 F-250 service bed pickup that I had bought from a lady that had bought it from the county, and then I bought it and took the crumpled up bed off and put a heavy steel service box on this 5.4 liter V8 Triton F-250. Truck never really worked very well. It didn't run very well. It had trouble with like the VVT valves and the cam phasers and all of that. My parents still are using it to this day for work. They really haven't done anything to the truck. I had some plans to improve that truck and make it better. They needed a cheap work truck to continue doing what it had been doing for the last few years, and so we just passed it off to them, and it is still running like a top, doing what it's supposed to be doing with the VVT valves unplugged, and it still tows okay, and it's just always been kind of a cheap piece of junk work truck. And we did get a 2008 Honda Pilot relatively cheap. I think we paid $4,500 for it from a seller in Salt Lake. We had some trouble with that car getting him to transfer the title from the dealership into his name and then into my name. And then it was a salvage title, so I had to go get a Wyoming rebuilt title with the sticker and the safety inspection and all of that. Not a hard process, but it was a very long process because the person I bought it from had never transferred the salvage title from the dealership into his name. All the work on the car had already been done and rebuilt. I had to put like a fender liner in it, and that was it. But I could not get him for the life of me to go and do that, get the title put in his name so that he could transfer it then to me. And Wyoming's DMV is extremely picky about stuff like that. Probably 6 months to actually get that car registered to where we could use it. At the time, we had a 2009 Murano that was a work vehicle, It was very similar to our '08 service pickup. It was clapped out, it was old, it was ran down, it hadn't been very well taken care of. It had almost 200,000 miles on it, and we put 13,000 miles on that poor thing in like 3 months of using it for work. We couldn't drive the Pilot in the winter for our personal stuff, and that Murano was available, so that's what we would take, and it just left such a sour taste in my mouth with this Pilot because of that whole title issue. Now, it was supposed to replace or be a more reliable family vehicle for my 2004 F-150 that was literally a ticking time bomb. It could die at any second, any moment it was going to go out, and I didn't want to have my family with our new baby in it driving to Idaho in the middle of winter and have that engine seize up and be stuck literally in the middle of nowhere, hours away from the nearest town or in a storm or something. Instead of fixing the truck, we just bought a whole nother vehicle, and we continued to use the truck, but just locally and for work. And the Pilot was supposed to be a more reliable vehicle. So we got it registered, took it to Idaho a couple times, drove the thing around. I absolutely loved that car. We should never have sold it. Thought we needed something nicer and newer. So we sold the Pilot for what we had into it, thankfully, and we turned around and we bought a 2015 Ford Expedition EL. We went from a good-sized SUV to the literal largest SUV on the entire market before you step up into like a Sprinter van or something. Had this 15 Expedition just up until a couple weeks ago when we decided that we wanted to make some different financial decisions and moves in our life, so we sold that, and now the Fusion's our main driver. And I have a review video coming out on the channel, the only time it will ever be featured on the channel, here in a couple of weeks. So if you haven't already, subscribe so that you can see that vehicle. The 2004 F-150. Oh, the 2004. This truck died on me last year in January. The long-awaited timing chain tensioner cam phaser situation finally failed, and she locked up on me while I was headed back to Wyoming pulling that trailer. I made it exactly halfway. I was up on the very top of Togety Pass when I lost oil pressure. I had to make it just under a mile more to a pullout, and I could not have broke down in a more beautiful and better spot. Get the truck unhooked from the trailer, take the trailer back, get another trailer, come back up and pick the truck back up and take back home. It is dead, but things are finally starting to happen. Finally got around to pulling the engine out of the truck, and I will say that that is a nightmare. I got all the accessories off the engine, and then we split the engine transmission and lifted the engine out of here, really no problem. It's just a crazy amount of labor. I think it took me 10 hours roughly overall of actual work time on this to get the engine out. I don't know how hard an engine coming back in will be, but I'm still saving up some money and trying to decide if I want to do a used motor, a good used motor with a new timing set, higher flow oil pump and all that, or if I want to just get a crate engine from Ford or a rebuilt engine from Jasper, which is, I think, what I'm leaning towards. Overall, there's very little rust on the truck, and the interior is almost perfect. So it is worth fixing in today's crazy truck market, but by the time I have the money saved up, we'll see if it's still worth fixing. So in terms of personal vehicles, you're thinking they have the Ford Fusion, the F-150 is dead, so what am I driving around right now? I am a car guy, and I can't have a boring car, unfortunately, or fortunately, because I enjoy the new car that I have, but I haven't enjoyed so much the maintenance on it. But that means that you get lots of content because I filmed almost everything I've done with this car, and it will all be coming out on the channel very soon.